clinicaltrials.gov. And the reason we were looking at it was for the transform step. So you really have this process where you have this triangle and you start here at transform. And they have it at the vertices, but it really should be like on the sides because you're starting to take things and turn them into variables and quantities, which you did on the boards here too. Like I had to do with Rob Halford. Like how was I going to compare him? That was kind of the hard thing for me. Like how do you compare Rob Halford to someone else? What makes him a metal icon? Well, his range, but his age. So I had to kind of think about how am I going to quantify why he's an icon. And you had to do it too. And some of you picked the same person and had a different measure of what you thought was the quantitative variable. So that's the transform step. Then you have the actual modeling step. In every other class you've ever had in your life, they spend all their time not on the actual modeling process, they spend time on just the process, which is why I always thought that math classes were boring until I got into calculus. They are. I'm sorry. I mean, some people might like to bookkeep, but the rest of the courses are about bookkeeping, other than maybe geometry, where you're writing proofs, but a lot of those are taught in a very rote way too. It's like we try to make math not fun. But math is fun. I don't want you to think that I'm sitting around just completing the square. It'd be a terrible life. The modeling part's actually taking this transform step and actually making it into something that is it's a model, just like a model house. The model house, not the real house, the model house, right? Model car is not the real car, it's a model car. So you're trying to interpret the world using a mathematical model. And then you have to interpret it. So we just did that on the boards here. We looked at the z-scores. Well, I looked at the z-scores and I interpreted it. I said, oh, look at that. Rob Halford isn't the greatest of all time when it comes to range. So we're interpreting the quantities that we're getting. And you're moving from here to here to here. It's iterative. You're always trying to make things better. Did anybody come up in this process, come up with a quantity didn't work out really well the first time? All right, everybody's worked well except mine?
I noticed that you need to factor in different variables, otherwise it makes. So for my example, I just took losses, but he had 28 wins and 1 loss, versus someone who had 1 win and 0 losses.
Exactly. So you'll come up with things and you're like, oh, that was not a great idea. So maybe I'll come back to the transform stage again and try again. So a lot of this class has to do with creativity. On the WPR, unlike other WPRs or exams you've had in your life, there's not one right answer. It's not set up that way. And some of you are going to love that. You've been waiting all your life to have that because you hated math because they always made you have one right answer and you're slightly off, they took off points. You're not going to get that here. The other thing you're going to get here is you really have to know what you're doing. But I think it's more fun. The second thing you did is the math modeling checklist, ethical checklist. We did that with does AI make you stupid? Can we do another one of those? I saw a paper that said that learning how to play the drums makes you smart. I don't want to look into that. I want that just to be right. But we asked questions. Where did this data come from? What did they do? Who was studied? I think there's something wrong in that paper because one of you found that the table at the end had 50% of the people interviewed had doctorates, but they were recruited on social media. How do you accidentally get 50% have doctorates that were just recruited from social media? That doesn't make sense. So you dug into that and asked some questions. So that's the piece on the ethics. The next thing we did was a bunch of Excel stuff. And I did that first with you because it takes time to learn how to work with Excel. Some of you are fighting me on that. Whether you fight me or not, you're going to have to learn it anyways. I'm just trying to get you there before a graded event comes, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow is your first graded event with it. So don't fight me today. I want to sit with you if you're behind, and I'll make sure you get there. That's why I make the little videos, but you actually need to try it yourself. Question?
And you said we'll be able to utilize the first one?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, you have everything. You can, but you have, one of the things about the videos, some of you weren't using it yet. You have to get used to looking, and then you'll use it as a tool. Does that make sense? So that's one of the reasons I was hyperlinking it. So you go, oh, there's a video on that. It's actually helping me. So you get used to doing it.
Is this a group thing or is it by yourself?
Is it by yourselves? I think you turn in one by yourself. I didn't look at all the directions yet.
What are we going to be evaluation for?
Like the WPR? Yeah, that's the test. The bulk of your points comes from projects. So the project is assigned today. And you won't be able to do all of it, but you'll be able to get started. With the Excel tools you guys have, you're able to get started already. So I would start, and I'm going to make a deal with you guys. All right, so Excel, what did you do on Excel? You did scatter plots. I showed you a video for that. Everybody was able to get a scatter plot. I think everybody was able to do that in here. I was just watching you. You did histograms. We didn't talk too much about why. I talked a little bit about why. You did summary stats using the analysis tool pack.
Is that the summary like descriptive?
Yes. Tool pack, I think it's called. I have a reason why I did that, because I don't want you to have to do a different command for every different thing. I just want you to push one button, least amount of button pushes. And then you don't have to remember, I have to do this for this thing and that for this thing. I just click data analysis on this analysis tool pack thingy that I just added in, and it gives me the list of things to do. That's and all the stuff is kind of similar. I highlight the column and it does, so it should be easy for you. And it gives you everything at once. You don't have to do a separate command for median and mean. It gives you all of it at once. That's why I did that. I'm a lazy mathematician. And I infer my laziness onto you. I impart that onto you. I don't want to do more than I have to. So I don't want to give you 3 ways to do something. I just want to give you 1 way. That's why I did that. Then you had also one more thing. I showed you how to use z-scores on there, using a command and filling in formulas. I showed you that too. You have to be able to do those things. And I think they're all labeled as Excel files. So I haven't got a lot of feedback from you, but I've been teaching for 35 years, and I always ask students, what should I do to make it better? So somewhere along the line, a student said, don't make an hour-long video. Make them exactly what the topic is and name them. And that's what you have. So past students have told me that. You have them all lined up there. All right. So that's what we did in Excel. And then we did formulas. Or if you want to call it math, the math content, we did median, mean. These are measures of centrality. We used means up here. They work well with continuous data. Like you have here, you have run times, goals. They're all can be thought as continuous data. Means work nice. Median is just the center value. What's wrong with the median? Well, it works most of the time. It doesn't get pulled by outliers. But if you have changes in your data, let's say you have a median of 70, and then you run the test again, but somebody gets a 0 and somebody gets 100. It doesn't change the median at all. So when people start adding stuff to it, like if your center point was 70, adding a 0 and 100 still makes it 70. So that's what's wrong with the median. There's no one perfect way to look at the center. Then you had standard deviation, the formula, and there's a few brave folks that did it by hand. First name, I mean, I usually hand back a lot of stuff right away, so this class blessedly doesn't have that. So Amelia did it by hand. You can see the formula. You do have to know the formula. And cadet over there that also has the square root. First name. Elias also has the square root formula. So you have to know your formulas for those things. I think they'll be given to you. We'll know ahead of time. And then you have to know if you have to memorize it. You had also z-scores as a formula. So I got it all. That's what we've done so far. We're just getting the tools for working with large amounts of data. We're getting the formulas to compute them by hand and know what they are. And we're getting this process down. And the first weeks were like that. That's what we were doing. And it should feel, I think it feels more fun.
Are you able to quickly write down the standard deviation formula for us?
Yeah.
And the z-score as well. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So standard deviation is this one. Square root of, let's say you have, can I just do it with 5 data points? Because right, otherwise, let's say we have 5 data points. So you take x1 minus the mean and square it. X2 minus the mean and square it. And keep adding up until you got, let's say, I don't want to add more and more subscripts, but you have xn would be the total. Let's do it in general. It's fine. You know, I have to do 5. The mean squared. And then you divide that by n minus 1.
Wait, what was the xn?
The last one.
So it would just be however many data.
Yes. So if you're like, how many did you have, Amelia? You must have 4. Yeah. So because I can tell by your denominator is 3. Yeah. So if she had 4 data points, she's going to have 4 things on the top, and she would divide by 3.
So the n just means like 4 or like the last one.
Yes. How many you have? Yes. That's why I wanted to make it 5 at a real number, so not just like a arbitrary. And then standard deviation. So standard deviation is a measure of your error. It's like a measure of the error between the mean. And then z-score is going to be x, whatever your thing is, like, and then you subtract off the mean, and then you divide by the standard deviation. How do you get, when does x become the mean? If I look at that z-score, when does the z-score become the old mean? See what I'm asking? Just when x is equal to x bar, it becomes 0 on top. So the mean of the z-score is 0. And the standard deviation would be 1, because if the top is equal to the bottom, you would get exactly 1, and the top equals the bottom means that x is equal to the mean plus the standard deviation. So that they just squish things. All right, we got about 15 minutes left. Out of all of this, what I would like you to do is pick something off this list that you don't feel comfortable with, and find someone in class that does feel comfortable with it, and be open about it. One thing you learn about West Point is you're never going to be the best at every single thing. And you guys are going to be teammates here as you go through West Point, and you're going to be teammates after here. It's going to be really important. You're going to spend 5 years in the Army, and those 5 years, there's nothing more blessed than another West Pointer that's going to help you out. So let's just start now and help each other out. So just let go across the thing. Like, I don't know how to do X, and then have someone help you. And if you don't have anybody coming towards you, I can come to you. So make a list at your desk. Actually, do this. Do this for me. You have my number. Text me personally and tell me what you don't feel comfortable with this list. Just so I know. And then now we're going to resolve as much as we can in class.